Bueno, está Paddy, por ejemplo.
Él es otro hipócrita, yo te lo digo. Yo recuerdo una vez compartimos una rueda de prensa y él me dijo una cosa que era: mira, yo estoy peleando en el main card, tú estás peleando en los preliminares, tipo una bobada así. Y yo ahora me pregunto, yo tengo 2 cinturones, ¿tú dónde estás? ¿Sabes? ¿Quién es Paddy Pimblett ahora mismo y por qué se tendría que merecer ahora mismo pelear conmigo?
Ilia Topuria says he'd rather fight Paddy Pimblett out of pure hatred than defend his UFC title against a top contender.
La verdad que si pudiera yo elegir una pelea, pelearía con él porque cae fatal, la verdad. Cae como el culo. Y a mí me encantaría regalarle ese combate a todos los fanáticos.
Ilia Topuria's desire to face Paddy Pimblett is no secret, and despite having a massive title fight ahead of him at UFC 317, he made it known that if he had the choice, he'd pick Pimblett as his next opponent. The two have had bad blood since 2022, when they nearly fought in a hotel lobby during Fight Week in London, though their careers took different directions. Topuria rising quickly, and Pimblett finding his own path through the lightweight division, the tension between them has never really faded. Now, with Topuria firmly planted in the 155-pound weight class, that matchup might finally become a real possibility.
Porque desde hace mucho tiempo yo creo que dentro de la UFC no se ve una pelea de verdad. 2 personas que de verdad se quieren pegar. Y qué mejor que pegarse delante de todo el mundo y regalarles un espectáculo. Yo sé lo que va a pasar. Y no va a ser ningún bien para él.
¿Qué va a pasar?
Lo que ha pasado con todos.
Topuria hasn't forgotten the comments Pimblett once made about fighting on the main card while Topuria was on the prelims. He responded by pointing to his own success, saying that now he holds 2 belts and wonders where Pimblett stands. Despite believing that Pimblett doesn't deserve to share the cage with him based on rankings or merit, Topuria's dislike for him is strong enough that he'd gladly make the fight happen. He sees it as a true grudge match, something rare in modern MMA, where emotion and rivalry can fuel a fight in ways skill alone never could.
You were like beefing with like Paddy the Baddie.
The quality of the fighter he is, man, come on, please. Don't even compare me to that boom, because we are on different levels and everyone can see that. It's very disrespectful to me, to my country, to all my people. And he said something. Now I understand why the Russians put the bombs in Georgia. When you start to joke about that kind of things, just make sure that we don't find each other anywhere, because I'm gonna take your fucking head off. He wants to build his hype laughing at people, and that's not the way I'm looking to build a hype.
Before that can happen though, Topuria faces one of the biggest tests of his career. He's stepping in against Charles Oliveira for the vacant UFC lightweight title, a fight that headlines UFC 317 in Las Vegas. Topuria has been vocal about how powerful he feels at this weight, and he's predicted a knockout finish against the Brazilian. He believes that one clean shot will be enough to end the night, saying his power at 155 is something different.
What are your thoughts on Ilia Topuria and Ilia Topuria as a fighter? How do you feel about just the overall fight?
É uma grande luta. Ele é um grande lutador, mas eu não preciso provar mais nada pra ninguém de quem eu sou, o que eu já fiz dentro do cage. Essa outra chegou na oportunidade gigantesca. Eu vou nocautear esse cara. Essa é real.
He's gonna knock this guy out.
Former champion and analyst Michael Bisping has weighed in on the matchup, suggesting that Oliveira's fighting style could play right into Topuria's hands. Oliveira is known for his all-action style, pressing forward, throwing combinations, and often putting himself in harm's way for the sake of offense. Bisping sees this as a double-edged sword. While it makes Oliveira one of the most exciting fighters in the sport, it also exposes him to danger, especially against someone with Topuria's striking precision and patience.
But it's the exciting style that he has that would give me cause for concern if I was coaching Charles Du Bronx Oliveira. The way that he walks forward like a buzzsaw with reckless abandon, the not giving a damn attitude, it's beautiful to watch. It's very, very entertaining. Nobody will be booing when Charles Oliveira fights, okay? But it's that reckless style that might get him clipped. Charles Oliveira, as we know, he's got the most bonuses, most finishes, most
5 minutes later.
Right? The man's excitement personified, but he takes a lot of chances. Ilia Topuria, on the flip side, he's clean, he's composed, he's calm, he's in the moment, the hands are high, the base is low, the head is moving constantly, and he's looking at his opponent. He's tracking him down across the octagon. He's using the feet to corral him against the fence. He's looking for openings, and then he explodes. And when he explodes, we know he's got big power. He might explode the chin of Charles Oliveira. Whereas Charles Oliveira, on the flip side, with the shooter box style, he's walking forward, the head's on a straight line, and he's just The chin's a little up. He's throwing knees, he's throwing elbows, he's throwing everything but the kitchen sink, and we absolutely love it. But that's got him in trouble before, okay? Look at the fights he had, even with Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler had him in a bit of trouble. Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, great fights, tremendous wins, but it wasn't exactly one-way traffic. Charles Oliveira often finds himself in a little bit of trouble. That's what makes him exciting.
However, not everyone shares the same level of confidence in Topuria's dominance. Joe Rogan offered a more balanced perspective, pointing out that Oliveira's size, reach, and unpredictability make him a real threat. Rogan admired Topuria's striking and timing, but warned fans not to overlook how dangerous Oliveira still is. In Rogan's eyes, Oliveira remains one of the most underappreciated fighters in the division, and still holds advantages that could complicate things for Topuria.
There's always danger with Topuria. When he hits you, it's different than anybody, especially with hands. His boxing is so high level. That left hook he caught Max with, oh my goodness. Oh, just spun his head around. But I like what you were saying, Topuria versus Oliveira. Oliveira.
Your first introduction at 55, he's kind of the,
Oliveira
king
so
of 55
tall
and dangerous.
So dangerous everywhere, dangerous striking, huge reach advantage.
Yeah. But if you're Topuria, you're not going to go up to 55 without some sort of guarantee. Because remember, he's giving up the belt, so he's not getting pay-per-view points.
But it's his idea.
Well, because the weight cut's too tough.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
That view is backed up by Beneil Dariush, who knows what Oliveira can do firsthand. Dariush highlighted Oliveira's clinch game, knees, and chaotic rhythm as tools that could disrupt Topuria's usually crisp timing. For a fighter like Topuria, who depends on clean reads and sharp counters, Oliveira's awkward style might cause problems early and force him out of his comfort zone. Still, Dariush gave Topuria credit for being more well-rounded than people assume. Though most fans associate him with knockout power, he's also shown elite grappling, especially in fights against Ryan Hall and Bryce Mitchell, both known for their ground skills. In those matchups, Topuria not only defended well, but dominated in grappling exchanges, which could prove crucial if the fight hits the mat.
I think it's a lot closer than people think. I think Charles is really tough. I think he's got a good chin, he's got good jiu-jitsu, he's got great striking, and what's going to be difficult for Ilia is Charles's striking is, I think, really dangerous against boxers, against good boxers. The way he throws his knees, the way he, clinches, and those are things you can do to slow down Ilia. Because, for example, a good boxer will dip low to fake or feint to go get in on the inside, and that's times where Charles will just raise his knee and mess with your timing, or throw a kick, things like that. So I think the fight's a lot closer. I understand why people are favoring Ilia, and I think if you had to ask me, I probably would favor him as well. But I don't think it's gonna be like, oh, he's gonna walk through through Charles like everybody thinks.
Charles could be dangerous if it does hit the ground in this one, right?
Yeah, of course, Charles is always dangerous. Here's what I would say. I know Ilia's jiu-jitsu is very good because when he fought Ryan Hall, I believe, right? He fought him and he did really well. Even if, the fight was on the ground or he was throwing ground and pound, he did fine. The fact that he was able to stuff, man, why am I forgetting his name right now? He got taken down by him and then stuffed his takedowns. Wow, I can't believe it. Man, Bryce Mitchell. There you go. Thank you. He was able to stop Bryce's takedowns and eventually turn it around. And then when he was on top, he was able to just get into positions really quickly. Bryce has good jiu-jitsu. Like, I don't care, what people say. The guy can grapple. Like, you cannot be a fan of his, but you can't say he's not a good grappler. So he's a good grappler. I feel like he's fought other good grapplers down, and he just shuts them down. So I think Ilia's grappling is very, very good.
Kenny Florian took a closer look at the striking battle between the two, likening Topuria's inside boxing to that of Canelo Alvarez. He explained that Topuria thrives in close-range exchanges, using quick hooks and tight combinations that could exploit openings in Oliveira's defense. Oliveira has been hurt in the past in those kinds of positions, and Florian believes Topuria will try to keep the fight there to maximize his chances of a finish.
We got a fight for International Fight Week, Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira.
Yeah.
Most important question, who will have the better suit on fight day? Because we're talking I would say top 5 pound for pound dressers in UFC.
Absolutely. Well, it's so interesting, right? Because, you know, sometimes you can tell a lot about someone, the way that they dress a little bit. And you have Charles Oliveira, who, you know, is very flashy. He'll certainly be the more colorful guy in the suit. You know, he always comes with like a green or a red or something wild. You know, hair dyed, all that stuff. And then Ilia Topuria kind of like, you know, like your clean, kind of normal type suits, but everything, you know, really well done. And that's kind of the way that they both fight. You know, there's a lot of flash to what Charles Oliveira does. A lot of things really stand out. Whereas with Ilia Topuria, he does a lot of things that are very much rooted in fundamentals, but he has mastered those fundamentals. So a lot of those things, it's like, you know, he's wearing just a regular black suit. You're like, oh, it's like a really fancy Gucci one-off or something. You know what I mean? Like, like the things that he does in the cage are hard to really appreciate unless you're looking underneath the hood. And this is a guy whose fundamentals are just so damn good. And you're starting to see it, obviously, with, I guess not, maybe not starting, but we're seeing it consistently now with the way that he's winning his fights. I mean, he's knocked out the two greatest featherweights of all time. And it's just spectacular to watch. And he's going against a guy in Charles Oliveira who always delivers exciting fights. He's a finisher on the ground. He's a finisher on the feet. So I think that's setting up to be a spectacular main event.
Even with all these technical advantages, some feel that Topuria may be jumping into deep waters too soon. Tim Welch, a respected MMA coach, voiced concern about Topuria entering a title fight this early in his lightweight journey. Welch pointed to the danger of facing someone as experienced and offensively diverse as Oliveira. He emphasized that Oliveira's upright style, forward pressure, and long-range tools like knees could present real problems for Topuria's compact, boxing-heavy approach. In Welch's view, it's a high-risk move that might have been better delayed until Topuria had more experience at 155.
That's a dangerous fight. Merab calls it stupid to make Ilia Topuria fight Charles Oliveira before Islam Makhachev.
How is that?
Ilia Topuria says he got promised that he would fight for the title if he vacates.
By who? The security guard outside his room?
Yeah, he kind of hinted that he got promised that. I feel like Charles, Ilia...
That'd be fucking fire.
I think Ilia might batter him. The way Charles comes forward with those reckless knees...
And he's got the chin floating up high too.
Stands up tall like a really tall Muay Thai guy, and Ilia's like a low boxer. That's a dangerous fight for Charles.
Aljamain Sterling approached the looming matchup between Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira with caution and detail. While he acknowledged Oliveira's aggressive fighting style and world-class submission skills, he was quick to point out a recurring issue. Oliveira often gets dropped in striking exchanges. Sterling questioned how sustainable that habit would be against someone like Topuria, who possesses both knockout power and calculated composure. He reminded fans that even though Oliveira has managed to recover from being hurt in past fights, doing so against a precise and ruthless finisher like Topuria could prove far more dangerous. He also referred to Topuria's previous performance against Jai Herbert at lightweight, where the Spaniard overcame early adversity and ended the fight with a brutal finish. That performance, Sterling suggested, is clear proof that Topuria's transition to the 155-pound division has only sharpened his threat level.
This is a hard one. I like Ilia in this one. I don't know. But it's hard to count out Dubronx. Dubronx is, I still think he's him. But then I said that about Max. I said that about Volk. And I'm not saying that those guys were going to win against Ilia, but you say that those guys are still them, and then Ilia goes out and does that to them. You're like, fuck.
I don't know.
It's like, who's stopping this guy?
I feel like is it possible that it's just Ilia's time right now? Because I feel like since Charles lost the title, he's had some impressive wins.
Still, Sterling pointed out that Oliveira can absolutely turn the tide if the bout hits the canvas. He stressed that while Topuria has solid defensive grappling and has handled strong ground fighters before, Oliveira's submission ability is in a league of its own. He noted that Topuria hasn't yet faced someone with Oliveira's level of jiu-jitsu mastery, making that area a big question mark in the matchup. Even with Topuria's strong base and scrambling skills, Sterling remained skeptical about how well he'll fare if Oliveira manages to control the grappling exchanges.
Where's Oliveira better than Ilia? Well, the jiu-jitsu. But like, where's Oliveira like the much better fighter?
I don't know. Maybe the grappling department.
Is he much better though?
I don't know. We haven't really seen Ilia's grappling, so it's really hard to say. I mean, he got that one choke against Bryce Mitchell. But outside of that, I mean, he had a little bit of a grappling exchange, but it was a short notice fight against Yusuf Zalal in his debut. and that was a really close fight, a little bit of some back and forth. But where Oliveira is the best, I think it's his grappling, but he's also relies so much on his toughness, his chin, willing to go forward, step into the fire, willing to take one and give one. But I don't know if Ilia is the guy you want to take one to give one with. That's just not this just doesn't seem like the guy you want to exchange punches with.
Arman Sukian weighed in with a confident take in favor of Topuria. He didn't dismiss the difficulty of the fight, but highlighted Topuria's consistent ability to finish opponents. Sukian explained that Oliveira's past struggles with well-rounded wrestlers and boxers could become a major factor. In his view, Topuria's combination of precise striking and wrestling gives him the upper hand and allows him to control where the fight goes. Sukian seemed sure that this mix would pose serious problems for Oliveira, both standing and on the mat.
Каким ты видишь этот бой Топурия и Оливейра?
Очень тяжелый бой, но все-таки я думаю, что Topuria сможет финишировать Оливейра.
А можешь представить, чтобы Оливейра затащил Топурию вниз и там уже финишировал его?
Да, конечно, Оливейра очень опасный, с любой позиции может душить. Но просто перевести у Оливейра не такая вольная борьба. Допустим, моя работа, да, я люблю переводить. То есть я его перевожу, и он может контратаку какую-то сделать, там, душающий взять, как он взял меня там. То есть это возни не будет. Topuria просто будет работать, боксировать, не будет пытаться его переводить, так как у него намного лучше бокс, чем у Оливейра. А у Оливейра, мне кажется, недостаточно вольной борьбы, чтобы перевести Topuria.
Michael Chandler brought a more experienced view, having shared the octagon with Oliveira twice. Although he acknowledged Topuria as a cleaner, more dangerous striker, he was quick to praise Oliveira's overall fighting skill. Chandler argued that people often overlook Oliveira's toughness and ability to fight back under pressure. Beyond his submissions, he's proven to be a solid striker, capable of exchanging with the division's best. Chandler didn't downplay the challenge Topuria presents, but he insisted that beating Oliveira is never straightforward, given how durable and well-rounded the Brazilian is.
Lightweight division is being turned on its head. Islam Makhachev vacated. He's going to welterweight. We have a title fight pretty much a month away exactly right now for the vacant belt between Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira. I guess, are you surprised this is the way everything played out, from Islam not keeping the belt and it being like an interim or something to the fight we ultimately got for the vacant title?
No, I'm not surprised. You know, and I think maybe some of those rumors and stuff maybe played into my decision on why I wanted to fight Paddy, why I wanted to get back in there. Obviously, if you look at the timing, I should have had a win against Oliveira. I messed that up. I should have had a win against Paddy. I messed that up. I've had these great opportunities and they've just slipped through my fingertips. So if I would have beat Charles, I would be fighting Ilia for the title right now, you know, but this is the way the sport goes. I'm not surprised at all the craziness that's happening. I'm happy Ilia came up to 155. I'm happy Max is at 155. You got Poirier. Shoot, you got Poirier leaving the sport here in the next 6 weeks or whatever it is, which is crazy. You got Gaethje, you got Paddy. There's a bunch of different stuff going on. So I'll be cage side for that fight to watch it, and we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, who do you think is going to win?
Man, it's tough. You don't bet against freaking Charles Oliveira because he's so dang good everywhere, and he's a really hard guy to beat. With that being said, Ilia Topuria's got some crazy power in his hands and crazy accurate strikes. So it'll be very interesting to see how that fight goes.
Matteos Gameret took a different stance, favoring Oliveira primarily due to his size and experience at lightweight. Gameret emphasized that while Topuria is extremely talented, Oliveira has already faced and defeated elite-level opponents in this division. He felt Oliveira's natural size and physicality would be a major factor, especially against someone still adjusting to the weight class. Though both fighters are capable strikers, Gameret leaned toward Oliveira's overall skill set and history of surviving and thriving in brutal matchups as a decisive advantage.
Next month, the lightweight championship is on the line. Ilia and Charles, who do you have?
Very interesting matchup. Both guys has power and skills to get the win this fight. Like Ilia can knock him out, the Oliveira. He has heavy hands for sure. But also Charles Oliveira has a lot of good tools to beat Ilia in the ground, in the feet, everywhere. But I think Oliveira is really big guy. Ilia is short guy, and I think this is gonna be much different than the both guys. And I think that this is gonna be advantage for Charles Oliveira and he can win.
MMA analyst Luke Thomas offered a broader view of the fight's significance. He acknowledged that many fans initially hoped for Topuria to face Islam Makhachev, but he argued that the Oliveira matchup is just as meaningful, if not more intriguing. Thomas pointed to the contrast in styles. Oliveira's chaotic, unpredictable aggression against Topuria's controlled technical power. He explained that this clash makes for a thrilling and uncertain fight. Thomas also touched on the bigger picture, noting that Makhachev's potential move to welterweight opens doors to other exciting matchups involving fighters like Khamzat Chimaev, Jack Della Maddalena, and Sean Brady, which could shake up multiple divisions.
Been very consistent about this. The number one fight that could have been made among all permutations was Islam Ilia. That's the best fight that could have been made. But the point I've been trying to make is that while that would be the most desirable one to choose, it's not like you're getting something bad even though you're not getting it. In other words, Topuria against Oliveira for the lightweight belt is fire. I don't care what anybody else says, it's fire. And then I've been saying this whole time, Islam going up to 170 and seeing how he matches up there with Della Maddalena, potentially Brady, potentially Rachmanov, potentially Gary, potentially Buckley. I mean, any number of ways in which that could go. That is incredibly exciting.
Justin Gaethje, known for his brutal wars in the cage, had a more encouraging perspective on Topuria's jump to lightweight. He praised Topuria's dominance at featherweight, particularly his finish over Max Holloway, and viewed the move to 155 as a natural evolution in his career. Gaethje believes that great fighters are defined by the risks they take, and Topuria stepping into a title fight in a new division fits that mold. He expressed confidence in Topuria's ability to handle the moment, suggesting that ambition and boldness are traits shared by all champions.
Him being a featherweight coming up to lightweight is not a factor. I think we saw that with Max Holloway. The only guy that put me to sleep was a featherweight, so that shit don't work. It's crazy. It's a crazy game. I think the confidence that he has right now is probably what he's got going for him the most. I think his ability to stay in position and create leverage and power in his shots and move forward. He moves forward in great position. I think that, like I said earlier, all the champions are moving forward, for a significant amount of time. So I think he's a force to be reckoned with. Absolutely. He's very dangerous, very confident, and we'll see how it goes. Styles make matchups. We'll see what kind of matchup he gets.
All these perspectives highlight what makes this title fight so compelling. Topuria is a composed technician with knockout power and underrated grappling. Oliveira is a wild, aggressive finisher who thrives in the chaos and unpredictability of MMA. The contrast between their styles, mindsets, and paths to this point sets the stage for a truly unpredictable outcome. Some believe Topuria's composure and power will be the difference, while others think Oliveira's range, aggression, and creativity will test him like never before. As the fight draws near, the spotlight is firmly on Topuria. If he wins, he becomes one of the few fighters to claim UFC gold in 2 divisions, and in doing so, he might finally get the chance to settle his score with Pimblett.